Welcome to Remove Before Flight, where we help prepare veterans to start, grow, or scale a business. Welcome back to another episode of Remove Before Flight. In this episode, we are going to discuss the entrepreneur life, provide some helpful tips no matter what stage your journey is in, and deal with these nasty bugs invading my office. Happy Sunday to you! Last week we had a great episode where Paige returned and hit me up with an interview. The feedback we got from the listeners has been great. Several have suggested that we let Paige interview the other hosts on the Change Your POV podcast network. So watch for those episodes coming soon. We talked about the release of a great book by fellow Change Your POV host Dwayne France. Dwayne hosts Headspace and Timing on Tuesdays. Dwayne's book, named after his show, covers veteran mental health from a combat veteran's perspective. Get your copy today by visiting changeyourpov.com/HST book. Or you can enter a contest being ran by Remove Before Flight to get a copy of Dwayne's book for free. Visit the show notes page for more details at changeyourpov.com/RBF012. You can share your thoughts on today's episode by joining the nation at facebook.com/groups/RBF Nation. All right, let's get this show rocking by talking about the entrepreneur life. We're going to discuss today about reading habits and the quest for knowledge. 43% of U.S. adults read any type of literature not required for work or school. That's a 3-decade low. That is insane. No wonder why we have so many problems with dumb people. I'm just going to put it out there. Dumb people. Think about it. When you go into any retail establishment today, and no, it's not just retail, it's everywhere. We're faced with illiterate, dumb people, uneducated people. And it shouldn't be that way because the U.S. has always been touted as having a great educational system. I just don't know what's wrong with society today. Our younger generation would rather sit in the house and play a freaking video game that is meaningless and mindless versus getting outside, enjoying the nice weather and playing or doing some kind of activity that's going to increase their knowledge. Sorry, that's a little rant that wasn't planned for this part of the episode. But, let's talk about some other facts. Warren Buffett. We all know who Warren Buffett is. He's the guy that we all want to be. We want his money. He reads 500 pages a day. Mark Cuban, that guy from Shark Tank, reads 3 hours a day. And Bill Gates, we all know Bill Gates has got it. He's got the money. He reads 50 books a year. How many do you read? I'm sure you're sitting there questioning yourself. How do they do it? They make it a top priority. For Warren Buffett, he allots 80% of his day to reading. In a study done by Tom Corley, the author of Rich Habits, The Daily Success Habits of Wealthy Individuals, he looked at the daily activities of 233 rich people and 128 poor people over the course of 5 years. He found that 67% of rich people watch TV less than 1 hour a day. So how are you spending your day? That's my question to you. Go tell us at the RBF Nation group. Let's put a poll out there and see how many hours a day people are spending watching TV. And I don't care if you say, well, I watch 4 hours a day, but it's all documentaries. I don't care. I want to know. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with the group. Tell us how you're spending your day. So Elon Musk taught himself to build rockets by reading. Tony Robbins attributes books to saving his life and shaping him into the leader he is today. We live in an era where access to books could not be any easier. With all the technology devices available to read an ebook on. Top this with the public library system making a comeback with the increasing number of millennials who are more likely to use the library over Gen X and baby boomers. Wait, what? Millennials are going to the library? That's crazy. And for those of you that are going to use the excuse that you spent a great deal of your time traveling, look at audiobooks or podcasts. Hell, even Alexa will read me the books out of my Kindle library via my Fire tablet, my Fire TV, or Echo device. Make time for this to happen in your daily grind. Set a timer, whether you're reading for 30 minutes or 3 hours. Be devoted the entire time, free of interruption. If time is not your thing, then set a goal by the number of chapters. Say you're going to read 3 chapters of a book, 5 chapters of a book, whatever it be. For some people, it'll be first thing in the morning, while others just before bed. Research shows that you absorb more information just before bed, and reading helps you sleep better. Whichever way you do it, make it a consistent routine and read at the same time. Here's the other thing. Don't waste your time with books that are not working for you. Don't just read for the sake of reading. Read so it brings value to you. Successful people are selective about what they read. Typically, they choose to read educational books or publications over entertaining literature. If you start reading a book and the first chapter is not cutting it, try to give it at least 3 chapters before giving up. I've found some books have a slow or boring start, but then all of a sudden, I'm hooked. For me, I tend to be reading 5 to 10 books at any time, whether they are in an ebook format or physical books. And yes, there are some that I own in both formats, the same book. Why? Because I want it available to me. I loved that book, and for some reason I said, hey, I need to have that paperback copy as well as an electronic copy. I read a couple of chapters in each as I progress through my journey. As a kid, a teenager, or even in my 20s, you would not find me wanting to read. I would skim tech books on computers and electronics, but only go for the piece of information I was seeking at the time. Now, I can't stop reading. However, everything is still tech or educational stuff. I don't have time for the fiction nonsense. If I can't learn from it or it doesn't bring value, then I don't have time for it. Reading can be expensive, but so is a college education. I can show you many people who spent tens of thousands of dollars on college educations and didn't learn a damn thing, versus somebody who read a $20 book and it changed their life. Be frugal, shop around. I had an hour and a half to kill last night while waiting on somebody else. So I headed into the local Barnes & Nobles to pick through magazines and books. Why? Because that's what I do sometimes. Yes, I know I'm an oddity. I don't go to the bars. I don't hang out. I don't like to get drunk. I like to read. I like to do stuff that's going to stimulate my mind. So anyways, the only magazine that I wanted to read was sealed in plastic. And no, get your mind out of the gutter. It was not porn. Good try. It was a magazine called Writer's Journal. So, and the reason I wanted to look at it, I'm getting ready to publish several books and finalizing where I'm going to get them printed and distributed through. And while, yes, there's tons of resources on the internet, I tend to like to over-research some things. And this is one of them that, as I'm diving into a new chapter of my life, funny chapter, and we're talking about books, but, as I'm diving into this new chapter, it's about learning the right process and not making a mistake from the gate. But you know what? If I make a mistake, hey, then I learn from it. But anyways, so this month's edition of it had a handout in it. So that's why it was all sealed up. So I'm not going to sit there and open up the magazine inside the store. It's sealed in the plastic. The prices of magazine today are ridiculous anyways. It's an $8 magazine that probably half of it's ads anyways. But anyways, that's besides the point. So, I mosey my way over to the tech book section. So, and I start thumbing through some books. And I found a book which was funny because it came out last April. And I was previewing a couple chapters on Amazon just this very week. It had popped up in my feed as a recommended book, and I took a look at it because the publisher who puts it out is pretty credible in the tech industry and has several other books that I've read over the years on various subjects. And so, I want to give them benefit of the doubt, but I'm always kind of like leery on some books. And so this was a great opportunity. There was one copy of it sitting there, so I grabbed it and headed over to the cafe to sit down. So as I start going through this book, the first 2 chapters, I'm thinking, wow, what a waste of money this would have been. Glad I didn't buy it. But as I continued skimming through, I found myself diving in deep in the middle of the book with some great information. As I flipped towards the back of the book, I found myself again saying, what the fuck is this shit? Now here's the funny thing. Barnes & Noble sells their books at full retail price. Okay, for this book, it was $54.95. There is no way in hell that book was anywhere even close to worth that price. Amazon is selling the print book for $31.56. Now, it's an odd amount because I'm a Prime member, so it's free shipping and there's a discount on the book. Or I could buy the Kindle version, which is the ebook version, for $18.35. So now I'm saying to myself, is it worth $20, or do I see if the local library has it, or return another trip to Barnes & Noble's to take notes? What are your thoughts on reading? What is your action plan? Share it with the community at facebook.com/groups/RBF Nation. All right. So I want to take you back to 2003. We're going to look at the NBA draft where Syracuse star Carmelo Anthony was the 3rd pick. And LeBron James, yeah, I'm sure you've never heard of him. He's like a nobody, was the 1st pick. But we're not here to talk about either one of them. It's the person in between. At number 2 is who I want to talk about. Darko Milicic. Yes, I know I probably butchered his last name, but you know what? Chances are he's not listening to Remove Before Flight. So who is this Darko, and why are we talking about him, huh? He was one of the biggest busts in NBA. Those are his own words, not mine. He averaged 6 points a game, but was making about $52 million. Let's face it, he sucked. As Serbian native Darko will tell you, he's okay with that. As the story goes, Darko was 18 when he was drafted by the Detroit Pistons. Prior to that, he was living in Serbia during the 90s, which meant his country, as well as his father, who was a soldier, were involved in several wars in the Balkan region. Any of us that have had the pleasure, which I use loosely, of visiting this region during the late 90s recall how beautiful it was not. I remember seeing families living in houses which were half blown up, and they were okay with it. But that's not, this isn't about my experiences. At one point, Darko's father's name was read by a newscaster as being dead. But later, the newscaster returned to say they had gotten some of the names wrong. At 10, this was tough on Darko, not knowing, is his father dead or alive? His father returned home and, among other things, taught Darko to play basketball. This was not because either of them loved the game. It was purely because of Darko's height. So at 14, he moved away to play for a professional club. But for Darko, it was a purpose, not a passion. After a while of playing, when the NBA scouts began showing up, he saw this as a way out of financial insecurity and out of Serbia. As Darko began to be interviewed by American reporters, he would be asked, who was his idol? Who did he love to watch to play? He would tell them Kevin Garnett. The problem being, Darko had barely ever seen Garnett play. He could care less about the sport. So all of this aside, we know Darko failed in the NBA. So why are we talking about all of this? What does this have to do with removable for flight or owning a business? Where does it fit in? I'm glad you asked. Darko took his failure and returned home to Serbia, where he got into commercial farming. And no, not the little backyard farm with, the cows and the chickens and the pigs. He has a 125-acre fruit farm where he has over 2,000 apple trees, and he produces more than 10,000 pounds of fruit annually. His next dream is cherries. He says there's a lot of money in cherries. So he took this failure and he moved forward. ESPN just did a great story on Darko and goes into some of the darknesses he dealt while playing in the NBA, including punching walls and all-night drinking benders before games. I highly recommend anyone struggling to recover from failure take a few moments and watch the E60 episode and get some inspiration. So, we all know about business plans, and they're a big pain in the ass. Most people avoid them. Some people write them once and don't realize they have to go back. It's a living document. They just, agonize over having to have a business plan. Let me tell you, our friends over to Cigars and Sea Stories, Mr. Michael Penny and Bennett Tanton. You know Bennett because he's also a host here on the Change Your POV network. But they put together this great little program called the 5-Paragraph Business Plan. This program is based on the military's 240-year-old Operation Order. The 5-Paragraph Business Plan was built for the whole organization to stay on point. So this is the way you need to run your business. Bennett and Michael took this Operation Order as well as the reference book, The Nuts and Bolts of Great Business Plans, which was developed by IVMF and used as part of their curriculum for EBV, as a basis for building this must-have tool for any entrepreneur at any level. That's right. If you're even thinking about having a business, you've already started, or you're struggling, or you're being successful, this is a book that you need to have. It's more than just a book. It's a whole action-orientated workbook that goes along with an online program where they teach you all kinds of information about how to run your business. It's insane. It's such a process that seems so simplified, being only 5 paragraphs, but it makes so much sense. So what are you waiting for? Get your ass over to 5paragraph.com and get yourself signed up today. All right, since we've talked about, some great books with the 5-paragraph business plan, we talked about failure, I want to throw one more in there. I hadn't really planned on throwing this in here. It's written by somebody I know, and I've had a great chance to get to know this guy over the last couple of years, and he's a branding expert, and I would love to have him on the show at some point. And he has offered to appear on the show. It's just a matter of logistics, getting both of our schedules to line up. It's by a gentleman named Henry Kaminsky. Now, it's Henry Kaminsky Jr. because there is a Henry Kaminsky that's a doctor in D.C., and I don't want you to think that that's the guy. But Henry is like this guru when it comes to branding, and he wasn't always there. And he's got a book out. It's called Refuse to Give Up. Crush your fears and limiting beliefs. Design the incredible life you deserve. Now, this book, the way it's written like interview style. So it appears like he's speaking directly to you. So it makes it for a very easy read. He also includes sections in there to treat it like it's a workbook where you can put your own thoughts as you're reading through the book. It was very well done in the way that it was laid out. It's very cheap, $2.99 for the Kindle version. I don't recommend the Kindle version. Why? Because like I said, it's a workbook. You're going to want to interact with this book. Spend the $10, buy the paperback. So worth it. It's a great read. I'm not going to go further. I'm just going to tell you, go buy the thing. Go get it. Spend the $10. You probably spend more than that stopping at the convenience store on your way to work, or stopping at the local coffee shop or whatnot. Go spend the $10. Support a gentleman who I think you'll learn to love. Read this great book. Understand how his principles can change the way that you think about your business and the way that you do things. And man, get out there and follow him. He's somebody who, it's just a great resource to have in your back pocket. I've been in a couple masterminds with him. I follow his stuff on Facebook, and I've just learned to embrace that connection that I have with him. Alrighty, guys. I'll throw a link up on the show notes page. So, changeyourpov.com/RBF012. You'll find a link out there for his book. I'll make it easy for you to go find it. And there'll be links out there to everything we talked about in today's show. And it's time for that not so fun part of our show I mentioned in the intro, right? So I'm hoping somebody in the nation can help me out. My office and my house have been infiltrated with these pesky spider crickets, or cave crickets as some call them. Orkin has been here several times to spray for them, but they're not going away. It seems as soon as you kill one, there are 5 more that appear. What the fuck? These things are more or less harmless, but they're creepy as hell to look at. And to make it worse, their defense mechanism is to jump at you. If they're intimidated, they jump at what they're intimidated by. How do I get rid of these things? Please, if you have experience with this, share your thoughts with me. Share it with the nation. Head on out to facebook.com/groups/RBF Nation. And share your thoughts about anything with today's episode. Alrighty, folks, that's all for this week. Be sure to visit the show notes page for links and helpful tips talked about in today's show at changeyourpov.com/RBF012. Our show would not be possible without the support of great listeners like you that support us through Patreon. To show my appreciation, I am going to sweeten the pot from what is already available as perks to our supporters. For anyone who pledges $10 or more a month, they'll get 50% off SEO services from yours truly. That's 50, as in half price. It is a great deal, and much more value is returned than the $10 a month it will cost you. Head over to changeyourpov.com/support us and learn how you can support us through Patreon today. Be sure to join us next week as we pick back up our series on SEO by discussing content, and we have an in-depth chat about voice search, how it's becoming more popular, and it's critical for you to start thinking about natural search. All right, go grab your copy of Dwayne's book today by visiting changeyourpov.com/HST book. And don't forget to subscribe to Change Your POV so you never miss a great episode. All right, everybody, it's time to wrap up this show and get out of here. Life is short. Don't just dream, do. We will see you next week on Remove Before Flight. Thank you for listening.